Should I keep my camera off, Lloyd?
Yes.
Okay.
Already. Hello there. How's it going, Karen?
Hi, Lloyd. It's going great. How are you doing?
Fantastic, fantastic. Welcome to Startup on the Blocks. It's another Thursday, and we got a great event planned for you all tonight. We had a great networking session as well. We got a chance to meet some people online, a couple of new people as well. So first, Karen, I'll tell a little bit about Startup on the Blocks, and then we can kind of get started here.
Great.
So Startup on the Blocks is an event that we do each Thursday night, every Thursday night from 6 to 8 Central Standard Time. And we do an hour of one-on-one networking where you actually get to talk to people one-on-one and build some relationship capital. And then at 7, like now, we actually get a chance to talk to some guests and learn about our local ecosystems and about stuff that's going on around the world and learn some best practices. And so it's just a way you can connect and learn how to grow your startup and learn how to, if you marketing a product or service that the startup founders can use, you can actually join in and network with us. If you're looking for a co-founder or whatever, that's what this event is all about. It's just connecting people. So Karen, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and you can also try to remember when we met the first time.
I was actually racking my brains a minute ago when you said that. It was a while ago, but it must have been at the Annex, surely.
Yes.
Networking or something. Or maybe it was 1 million cups even.
Yeah.
Right. So hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Lloyd, for having me here. It's an honor to be here. I'm excited for Startups on the Blocks. My name's Karen McLeod, and I back in the day, a few years ago, I launched Co-work Annex. So that was still is. I'm just not there anymore, but it's a co-work space downtown. And I don't know where we met, Lloyd. What particular?
So I'm glad you brought that up. So I remember because there was Gaffney. Gaffney. So I'm glad you mentioned that because I didn't put the two and two together. So you were helping Gaffney out, right?
I was. She brought me on board and then left left me to it right before we launched. So I was sort of thrown in at the deep end there because I'd never run anything before. So I was sort of left to sort of pick up some pieces and get on with it, which was a great experience for me because it organically grew. I don't even know how actually, but I think Bantucola was just ready for something like that then. They didn't even know what co-working was really. So we had to sort of put that on the map and just educate people on what co-working, is. And so that's how that happened. And then you must have come to one of the events, 1 million cups or something. And
so I know Gifty and her husband Jeff.
So you knew them prior. Okay.
Yeah. And so of course they were showing me around before when it was all dusty and everything, and and networking events. While construction was still going on.
I know, right? Which went on forever. It seemed like, and then finally, 2017 we launched. And so they're still there and still, great space. I've moved on since. So I run the Jetty IoT, which is our play on words, Internet of Things, ideas of tomorrow. We opened just as COVID took off last year. So we've kind of been on the down low for a year.
Yes. But so when you connected with Gifty, what made you think you would be interested in doing something like that? Was there anything in your background that
well, it was very, serendipitous, whatever that word is, that she met me and just said, well, actually how that happened, I worked with someone that knew her that was actually renting an office in the old building. And she said, oh, I'm looking for a community manager. And he said, I know just the person. And he connected us. And only because I just, me, I love everyone. I want to be everyone's mom and caretaker. I'm a connector. And he just knew that she wanted someone that was going to be, good with the people and organized and, that kind of a catalyst. So that is how that happened. Absolutely organically. Yeah. And she met me and said, that's it. I want you. I don't want anybody else. That's it. I was like, yes. Which was fabulous in some respects. And then in others, just terrifying for me because I didn't even know what co-working was either, at that point. So it was a learning curve for me as well. Basically.
Yeah. So I think it was a good, when we're trying to build an ecosystem here and having, co-working spaces come on board, that was really neat to kind of see Bantucola evolve, And
it really took off. Yeah. I mean, it grew so organically and it was word of mouth and people just coming in and so ready to be part of a community and like-minded entrepreneurs and people that wanted little spaces to just do their own little thing in, and I feel like it just grew steadily, month on month. It just had a really good reputation, but, it was just me, for the longest time and just sort of making sure everyone was happy and doing well and connecting people. What did they need? Who did they need to be connected with? And that was a big part of it. And then, of course, we started the 1 million cups program there, which I thought was a great opportunity, networking opportunity as well, amongst other, programming.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly right. So why would a person want, first tell us, about Jetty and what services you all offer there and where you all located and all that good stuff.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we are on Barrancas, so we're just over on the west side, but I have heard west side is the best side. Anyway, so it's literally just over the bridge. It's in the old West Marine building, but we've got this beautiful mural painted on the outside now and free parking, so that's huge because obviously we don't have that downtown. And we're an entrepreneurial workspace and resource center. We're offering mentorship, access to capital, amenities, networking, community, and makerspace, because we're trying to build a little maker space as well if people want to tinker. And we've got 3D printers, you know, and sort of work tools, workbench, you know, just sort of building slowly on that. But we basically are offering, essentially, the Jetty is offering sales and marketing, mentoring and engagement, but focusing on revenue growth for young companies. For young companies at growth stage, preferably using IoT technology coupled with SaaS, as I know now, is service as a software revenue model.
Software as a service, yes, yeah.
That's right. I always say
it's a delivery model for your product, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. And you know what? I am not a master of tech. You know that, Lloyd. Everybody knows that. I am the glue that keeps the community happy. But I am connected to some very smart and experienced people, and I help facilitate and foster that connection and growth of others. So I am not the most tech smart. In fact, I was worried about coming on Hopin even and getting this started, you know, but I'm just that sort of that connector, and, you know, that helps to, you know, facilitate those connections for people. That what do you need? Where are you at? What do you need? Who do you need help from? How can we get you that? You know, that kind of thing. Yeah. So our main interests are in, for the Jetty, are in software and app design, AI, robotics, coding, sensor-based technology, marine technology, cybersecurity, you know, those kind of things. But having said all that, we also welcome businesses that don't necessarily align with exactly what we're looking for to invest in, but if they wish to be located within our building and join our community, we offer workstations and amenities and meeting rooms to those industries, ideally, who have some synergy with our current sort of tech-focused family. So nothing too far removed, because, you know, we like to have, you know, that synergy between the members. They all help each other. I mean, that's the beauty of a co-work space. And technically, we're not exactly a co-work space, but it's still, you know, a shared workspace. And so the members in there, they help each other, they collaborate, you know, that's the beauty of it. And one of the beautiful things that has worked, you know, since the annex to the Jetty, and that's what should happen really in a thriving, you know, well-run co-work space.
Yeah, so I'm glad you went through what you all offer there, because, you know, access to capital was the first thing you said. I'm pretty sure some people ears lit up when you said that. Right. And then you say marketing, you know, help.
Right.
And
yeah. Well, for those that qualify to sort of in those areas that we're particularly interested in, then there is potential access to capital from us, and we also have a network of angel investors. So, but it's on a case by case basis, you know, that we.
Yes, I definitely understand that, and so you're in essence you're incubating companies to invest in, you know. You know, said like that,
right? And we were careful not to use the incubator or accelerator. Right. You know, we're sort of, you know, but yeah, essentially, Tom, our founder, Tom Patterson, he has, you know, over 50 years experience as an entrepreneur, has launched several successful businesses of his own. He's invested, mentored numerous others, especially in the Birmingham area, which is where they hail from. But they're between both now, Pensacola and Birmingham. Yeah. And he mentored at the Innovation Depot there.
Yes,
he currently mentors for the Spring Entrepreneur Hub in Pensacola, and recently invested in a company that graduated out of CoLab. So they're located in the Jetty with us.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, he's got a huge network of.
Yeah. So yeah, I remember the first time I saw Tom, he stood up and said he was doing this stay on Brankers, you know. I said, wow, you know, where is he coming from? And, you know, when I came over to talk to him last year, and we sat down and talked for a little bit, and we got to talking and found out there were some connections, you know, in our past.
Sure. I'm sure there's. Well, you're so old, Lloyd. That's why. You know?
Well, so but is there anything? Well, let me just tell you this one story. That kind of. So when I was in college down at Florida, I co-op at Eglin Air Force Base, and they have this thing that still exists today. It's called K-Hills. It's a simulation facility, and it's a kind of a one-of-a-kind thing. And they had this analog computer in there. and so Tom was the one that sold them the analog computer that I did my project on in college.
Well, he's been around a long time. That just proves it,
Yeah, so, that's exactly right.
And, you can imagine how many changes he's seen, over the years with technology. I mean, it changes, day to day, week to week, let alone, so yeah.
Yeah. So how do you all charge? Do you what's your, you have some kind of give us an idea what your fees are?
Yeah, we basically have workstations, more like cubicles, I guess, going back to the cubicle kind of, and offices, small offices, but it's fairly open, obviously, like co-work spaces are. But and it depends. We have set prices, but we obviously want to be negotiable and help certain people as well. It really is a case by case basis, like I said.
Okay. So, and you put the link in.
But we want to work with people. The main thing is to get people in there that want to the right people for us and that want help and want to be mentored, and we work with them. How we have to. The great thing about the founders are they want to build a community space and support the community. So whatever that takes, whatever that looks like, basically,
So does anybody have any questions for Karen before we move on? There's a lot of people saying hello, and so Makerspace looks like it got in there.
Right.
Yeah,
that's exciting for me, because I just love to see people tinkering around with things and build, and they are real nerds in our workspace. The current members there love to build and make and do, and they're always we have plenty of Lego there.
Well, I will tell you, I'll reach out to Tom and Tal over there, and we're with the nonprofit. We're working on some software. You mentioned the word makers, but like a lot of people want to learn how to do the AI stuff and create some AI stuff. So I just let Tom and Tal know I'll be bringing some software over that they can purchase that their tenants can actually use it. So it'll be equivalent to like a tinkering maker space, like a lab without IoT stuff. And
that sounds very cool.
So that's but look, so I was looking. So one of the things I wanted to so I was just there last week to your all space, and I went to the IT Gulf Coast meeting. So you all, share with the community and let the community host events there and everything.
I feel very, right now because, we haven't had our launch yet. COVID put us behind. We're planning an official launch kind of at the end of the summer, probably a bit of a party, and want to build regional awareness of the Jetty, obviously, and its resources. So we'll hopefully get some press coverage and stuff then. But, we just want to support whatever, local businesses, especially, things like IT Gulf Coast. And I'm on the I-10 Wired, planning this year, which is exciting. Getting involved in that out on the beach. They're having a summit out there, obviously, in October. The business fair for the kids and volunteering for that. The little tiny entrepreneurs, obviously. So there's different ways that we're kind of getting involved in sponsoring and volunteering and, just helping out generally in the community as well.
Yes. And so it's definitely, folks need to get to know you, and what you all are doing over there. And it's all about having the relationships. I can definitely attest. You've helped me out quite a bit in the past. I've hosted, when you were at the annex.
That's what I love to do. Because I do just like to help. And that's what I'm here for. You know, and I always say, you know, when we're, you know, talking about sort of lessons learned and stuff like that, I'm always, if this is any help to anybody, I'm always the dumbest person in the room. And I always say that's okay, because I'm always learning. You know, I think the hardest thing for me was to admit that in the beginning, because I'm not really a tech person, as you know, and I don't know a lot about the you know, things people talk and it goes right over my head. But I've learned so much over the last few years. I'm still learning, but you know, you're always learning in this, and things are always changing. That's the nature of the beast, isn't it? With technology, you know, it changes all the time anyway. So you are always learning, but don't be afraid to ask. You know, people, just one question can get you the right connection, you know, to someone, something, and we've had that happen, you know, over the years. Meeting, one question, even if it, you know, people feel like it might be a stupid question, or where do they start, or you know, and it's never stupid. It's never, you know, it just takes that one question or that one connection to change everything sometimes. So
yeah, for sure. And you know, you mentioned this phrase, dumbest person in the room. So
true.
Yeah, so Robin, you know, she got to say that about me one time, and
I don't believe that.
we were down at a data science conference down in Miami a couple of years ago, and so she tagged along with me in one of the sessions, and so there were all these PhDs, and there were all these wild presentations, and she came back and told everybody I was the dumbest person in the room.
Good old Robin.
Yeah.
Oh well, you know, yes, but
yes, it was kind of cute.
That's the thing. That's very cute, but you know, you don't have to have PhDs out the yin yang to have a great idea, you know, and that's what we find out every day. And you know, I'm not mentioning any names right now, but some people that we're talking to, you know, they don't have any of that. They're literally waitering out on the beach, you know, and they've got this fabulous idea, and Tom's mentoring this young guy, and he's going to go places. There's no doubt about it. But, you know, it's very humble beginnings. You know, who cares? I'm sorry, but, you know, good idea is a good idea.
Yeah, I can definitely tell everyone I met Tom, and he knows all about mergers and acquisitions. He's been a part of so many exits and stuff like that. It's crazy. I never met somebody that had that many business deals, you know.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Yeah, it's
and he's got a lot of stories, and he'll be happy to tell. He loves to talk.
yeah. All righty.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So we're gonna go. Brandon, if you would come on the stage or turn your mic and camera on, and Karen, any parting words before you head off here? We sure appreciate you coming.
Yes, I will just say, if it's okay, that co-working spaces and spaces like we have, and there's several of them in Pensacola. You know, I'm on talking about the Jetty, but we have wonderful friends and colleagues, you know, and collaborators in all the other spaces. We've had people that come in and are complete strangers at the beginning of the week, and then by the end of the week, they're building apps together. You know, so you know, co-work spaces are great places to be based for that. I would highly recommend, you know, but just finding the right space for you, because some spaces obviously are geared towards, you know, different kinds of memberships, different people, but they are fabulous places. I'm all about collaboration, as you know, Lloyd. So magical things can happen when, you know, people with ideas and enthusiasm get together. So yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing all those words of wisdom, and we look forward to chatting with you some more in the future.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye, Brandon. See you soon.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye. All righty. Welcome, Brandon. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
All righty. Yeah. So you're down in Orlando right now, correct?
I am indeed.
Yeah. All right, fantastic. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about you, and then we'll get started after that.
Yeah, sure thing. So my name is Brandon Storms. I'm the founder and CEO over at Assist. And we are a startup here that's based in Orlando that just went through the latest G-Beta class up there in Pensacola. And because of that experience and meeting folks like Lloyd and Karen, who you just heard from, we're actually going to move our headquarters to Pensacola and try and help build the tech ecosystem there. And just to give, I guess, everyone kind of an idea of what we do, we're a mobile application that connects people to odd jobs. So we connect, homeowners, to find people through our mobile application to help them with things such as cleaning, yard work, just everyday kind of odd jobs that as homeowners, most folks don't have the time to do, but don't necessarily want to spend the money to pay a contractor to do those things. There's plenty of people out there in the world that have, certain skills that can do minor repairs and do yard work, and just some folks that might even just want to make some extra money. So we want to provide a platform for people to do that, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And so the reason why I asked you to come on, I wanted folks to kind of hear your story, and how you got where you got the idea and all that kind of stuff, and your journeys, just so people can kind of see, your journey, and they can kind of relate it to their journey. And it's just so important to talk, be in a network with other founders and learn stuff, because if somebody's already been through something, and they can tell you some things that makes it easier for when you get to that point, and so it's like really, and so I started, investigating using this term relationship capital. And I did Google it a minute ago, and it appears that there is such a thing as relationship capital. But I think the point I want to make about it is like you network to kind of connect with people, and then you develop a relationship with that person. You strengthen that relationship, and in the future that becomes capital that you can actually leverage. And so, and like, for example, instead of me, if I needed to host a meeting or something, just by knowing Karen, I can give her a call and I can, leverage her place for a meeting. That's relationship capital.
Yeah.
And so the mentoring, you get that relationship capital going. And so that relationship capital leads to venture capital.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So you want, before we start talking, you want to let people watch your little video first, and then we talk after that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can go ahead and play that for the audience.
Okay, so let me see, can I get it up and running?
So everybody can have a better idea of what we do.
I'll try to get through this, and so let's see what we got here, and I'm going to go ahead and start it.
Hi, I'm Brandon Storms, founder and CEO of Assist. Now, we've all been there. Too much to do and not enough time in the day to do it, or maybe you're on the other end, looking to convert some free time into extra cash. That's why we made Assist. Assist is a mobile app where you can find the help you need with odd jobs and make money doing odd jobs, connecting with people in your local community. Here's how it works. Take a picture of the job area that needs an assist, provide a few details, and it's posted, all in under a minute. A few seconds later, you're matched with multiple trusted assistants that have the skills you're looking for. And because we wouldn't send just anyone to your home, each skilled assistant is vetted by a thorough background check. You can become an assistant to help with jobs like this for free with no startup costs or fees. We also charge a lower commission than the other guys. Once matched with an assistant, you can safely chat within the app to finalize the job details and confirm the service request. When the job is confirmed, we'll take payment and release it to the assistant when it's complete. Now, you review your experience in the app, leave a tip if you'd like, and go on about your day knowing that you've taken something off of your to-do list or made some extra cash. Assist is the new way to find everyday help from other everyday people in your local community. At Assist, we connect everyday people with odd jobs.
A lot of people don't know this, but the best way to make money with Amazon in 2021.
That's the challenge with YouTube. Yeah, neat. So Brandon, how did you come up with this idea for this particular application?
Yeah, it's a great question. So last summer, we were moving into a new house. My girlfriend was pregnant. We found out she was pregnant with our son, and we were looking for a house. So on move-in day, when we decided to move, she's 8 months pregnant, mind you, and this is June. So obviously, I'm sure most of us know that Florida's hot in the summertime. And my friend had canceled on me move-in on move-in day, and I was kind of stuck by myself. I didn't want to spend $200 or $400 to hire movers to come help us move, so we just kind of did it and made it happen by ourselves. And that's really when the idea first came about. Is I was like, man, how cool would it be if there was just like a platform where I could pay somebody $50 or $100, somebody that's in my local community, to just come over and help us move. And the fact is that the options on the market were either outdated, really expensive, or just not user-friendly at all. So I figured, that has to be a problem. The more research I did into the market, the more people that I spoke to, there were not only people that were looking for a platform to find help with odd jobs, but also there are a lot of folks in the marketplace that are looking to make money doing odd jobs. Even before the pandemic hit, over 53% of Americans were looking for ways to make extra income. I think side hustle is like one of the top 10 search terms in Google.
Wow.
So I mean, it's one of those things where I was like, well, surely there's a market there. And just kind of, that's really where the idea came from, and just wanted to kind of go forward and built the app myself in terms of the prototype. And eventually, got a team on board, and we started building everything from scratch, and that's kind of where we're at today.
Okay, fantastic. I know you have a presentation there, but so you came a ways, quite a ways since you got started there. So why don't you go ahead and just walk us through your presentation, and we'll just I'll interrupt questions as we go along there.
Yeah, it's more or less just a timeline.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and I'll share that with everyone. Give me 2 seconds here. Can you see my screen okay?
It's coming up. Yep, it's there. It's good.
All right, wonderful. So yeah, just a little bit about me. So I'm a founder and CEO of Assist. I'm based here in Orlando, originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. So I grew up single parent household. Me and my brother and my mom in the west side of Cincinnati. I do have technology sales and leadership experience, working at Apple, Verizon, various startups all over different corners of the country. Fun fact about me, I love anything sports. And if anybody wants to argue about LeBron, I'm more than happy to have that conversation. But really just to give everybody kind of a little bit about kind of my journey, as I mentioned before, on move-in day, that was kind of the beginning of Assist. My son was born July 1st. July 6th, I was like, all right, I really need to go ahead and run with this idea. So what do I do? First thing I did is I bought a website domain. I was trying to come up with a name of what it would be. And then once I bought the domain, I was like, all right, well, I've already spent money on this, so I definitely have to do it. And on that same day is when I started building the site. And I reached out to a digital agency to really help build the design aspect. It cost me $5,000, but I designed the wireframe and everything all on my notepad pretty much. And they broke it up over payments, which was great. So obviously I'm working my day job. They broke it up over payments, and eventually ended up paying that off over the course of a few weeks. But
Brandon.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So this is kind of a process. So how did you know you needed a wireframe first?
Did I lose the screenshot? So I knew I needed to figure out how exactly I wanted the what I wanted the app to look like, and really what I wanted the flow to be. So I had an idea in my head of what that would look like. Obviously, I knew that, there's going to be two sides of the marketplace. I kind of took, Uber's philosophy, or the other marketplace apps that are out there, and just really kind of drew from that. Like, I knew, all right, I'm going to have, people that book the jobs. I'm going to have people that do the jobs. What does that look like? And literally, pen to paper, just kind of pretty much wrote out exactly what that would look like. And in working with his agency, they helped me wireframe that as well. But using what's already been done before, I kind of had an idea in my head of what that process would be.
Okay, yeah. So I think the average founder may not know that. So you're a non-technical founder, and so, So I guess the point I want to make, you mentioned you worked at Apple, you mentioned you did technical sales. So how did you actually know that there was even such a thing as a wireframe? And that's what my point is,
Yeah. So the wireframe terminology, I didn't even get until I spoke to the agency, and they said, well, you need to draw out on paper what you want the wireframe to be. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And they said, well, I need to know exactly the process of the app and what each screen is going to do and kind of the steps. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So that's what I meant by wireframing. And ever since then, that's kind of just where obviously that terminology came from in me building the app. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, so July 31st to August 3rd was really, I filed all my paperwork, created a Delaware C Corp. I went online and literally went on YouTube and YouTubed how to build a startup. And I literally, I was telling you this earlier, Lloyd, I would spend literally hours until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning just doing research. What is the best way to build a startup? How should I incorporate myself? What does it look like when I try to raise capital? What is a convertible note? What is a safe? All of these things as a founder, which are just like super overwhelming sometimes. And I spent literally hours and hours and hours of doing research on what I needed to do. So between July 31st to August 3rd is when I actually filed all my paperwork. I went to a website called Gust.com, which I found through a YouTube video. And Gust, I don't know if you want to share that website in the chat, but Gust essentially, as a founder, they walk you through all of the process in terms of creating your Delaware C Corp, putting all your paperwork together. If you're in the state of Florida, they help you file with the state, and et cetera. I think it was only $300. But that essentially got all of my paperwork and everything that I needed to have to be an actual physical corporate, or I guess be an actual entity, a business entity. So once that was done, I realized, all right, I have this prototype built and I don't know how to code. So what do I do? And that's why you see August 3rd to Thanksgiving, is really just me doing a ton of research connections. And I like to call it the wall, because from there to January, I literally hit a wall where I just kind of didn't even know where the next steps were. I didn't have 40 to 100 grand to pay a developer to come build my app. Everything that I had read was I should build it myself. I tried and wasn't too successful at it. For what I wanted to build. And that's really where I guess kind of the second chapter and kind of going into where we are now begins. So I knew I needed a co-founder. I knew I needed somebody that was technical, that had experience, not just from an engineering side, but had experience building apps, both web and mobile. And I went to a website called Co-Founder Labs. And on Co-Founder Labs, you're able to build yourself a profile, talk a little bit about your company, your background, and essentially you're able to network with other folks that maybe they're a technical co-founder and they already have the idea and the technology, they just don't have anybody to handle the business side, or vice versa. And that's where, I met my co-founder and CTO, Brian, who's awesome. I had to interview a bunch of people to find him. But after going through that process, I think I definitely lucked out and being able to have a co-founder that's collaborative, smart, knows exactly, what we should do from a technical aspect, obviously with my input, and just really collaborative and a partner. I see him more as a partner now as well.
Okay.
But yeah, going into February, I reached out to a lot of investors, got a lot of advice. The advice I was told was, hey, you need to get traction. You really need to build an MVP. So I was like, all right, well, how can we get to market faster? We don't have any money. We're not going to pay a developer. So I literally went on LinkedIn. And if you go on LinkedIn, you can create obviously a business profile, right? So what I did was I created a business profile, and then you're able to post one free job on LinkedIn. So what I did was I posted a job description. Brian, my co-founder, and I wrote it out, posted the job description, and then posted it on there and put it in under internship. And got a ton of people from all over the world. And luckily, 2 out of the 50 some odd people that I interviewed between February, pretty much to the end of March, I found my 2 co-founders, Ashton and Adun, who are awesome. So Ashton is a back-end engineer. He's a comp sci grad from NC State, recently married, which is awesome. And Adun is from Dubai but lives in Algeria. But both of them have been on the team and have been awesome. But that also was a really long process. But I like to talk about that because I think sometimes as founders, especially for me, I didn't have a network, right? Like I didn't have anybody that I could go to and say, hey, do you know anybody that could build this app for me? Do you know anybody who's interested in being a co-founder or CTO? That just wasn't in the cards for me. I just didn't have a network like that. Coming from really a non-technical and more of like a sales background in the technology world. I just didn't know anybody from the engineering side of things. And I really had to be creative. And, it took hours and, very long sleepless nights to be able to figure out kind of the path that I wanted to take for the business going forward. And since then, we've been able to, build our MVP. And we're going to launch our platform. We're going to be mid-July, so sometime towards the end of next month. And I think really the keys to success that I've been able to really hold on to is really just like transparency. And if I were to talk to any founder, this is exactly what I would tell them: like, be completely transparent, 100% honest. Every single person that I spoke to, I told them like, hey, I can't pay you. I'm a first-time founder. We need this app built X date. Can you do it? And do you even want to do it? And I think being honest like that, you'll be able to kind of weed through, some of the problems that you definitely want to avoid. And I think the second thing is be yourself. This is your company, own it. Not everybody is going to love everything that you do or be on board with everything that you do. But at the end of the day, there was times where I wanted to be like, you know what, this probably isn't going to work. But I think just keep pushing, because eventually you'll run into people that will support you, like Lloyd and, like Karen and, Jonathan over at GBeta, that will definitely support you and help you, give you the tools and resources you need to move forward. And in terms of building a team, collaborate. So everybody on my team, their voice matters. I tell them that all the time. If somebody says, hey, like, what do you think of this, Brandon? I'll say like, oh, I think this, and this. Hey, Ashton, what do you think about it? Hey, Brian, what do you think about it? And then that way it's a collective, kind of agreement and healthy discussion. I think if you spoke to anybody on my team, they would say like, I hope that they would say that, hey, Brandon, like definitely has our back and our best interest at heart. I try to make that very clear to my team. And then also culture, set the tone for the culture that you want. And, good example. I had 3 engineers at one point. I had one engineer that just like up to the expectation that we expected. He wasn't putting in the work that everybody else was putting in, and unfortunately, we had to let him go because I didn't want that bleeding into the culture that we're trying to create here. So that's one thing that I think is also really important is you know, it's okay sometimes to, and this was a guy that I had previous relationships with, but I think sometimes it's okay, you know, at the end of the day, this is your company, this is your baby, if you will, as a founder, and you have to set the tone for the culture that you want. And I didn't want to set that tone that not doing your work or submitting incomplete work, if you will, is okay. I didn't want to set that tone, especially early on in the company. I think it's critical that everybody's rowing in the same direction. But yeah, that's a little bit, just kind of some key success. This is a little bit about our team. You know, myself, Brian, my CTO, and then my 2 software engineers. And yeah, I would be happy to obviously answer any questions or anything like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. So one of the things that came to mind as you were talking about, so you were interviewing these different co-founders and all that kind of stuff. And so how did you formalize those relationships, or did you even formalize them?
Yeah. So when I first started the process and really speaking to different co-founders and whatnot, you know, I really wanted to get to understand everybody as a person, right? I think that's key. Not so much what you can do professionally, but who are you as a person? That was how I led off every conversation, even with my engineers. I wasn't so much interested right at the beginning, what can you do for me from a technical standpoint? It was more like, who are you? Like, what are your interests? You know, what motivates you in the morning? You know, why did you take this phone call with me? What interests you about this, you know, product or about this venture? And just really tried to understand them as a person. And that happened over the course of, with Brian, it was about, I think it was 2 or 3 conversations, which we really just talked about personal things. Then we really, once we got comfortable with each other, we really got into, all right, so this is exactly, you know, what I'm looking to build. This is exactly how I want to build it. You know, what is your take on this, and really get his take from the technical aspect. And I had that conversation with about 5 or 6 different people that I thought would be good fits. And he just happened to be the one that stood out, not just from a professional level, but personally, he fit the kind of person that I just would want to be around. Right. Okay. Like the stuff that he can do from a professional standpoint is icing on the cake, but as a person, that was more so a really important factor to me in being able to pick that co-founder.
So when I say formalize, so did you do a written agreement with them or
Yeah. So once we formalized, so once we came to an agreement, like, hey, we're gonna work together and do this. I went ahead and typed up. I have a copy of our first agreement. I went ahead and typed up an agreement, like it was to the effect of, you know, Brian Walsh, you know, agrees to work in capacity of CTO and co-founder at Assist Inc. And then we had little line items, and then we had, you know, what his cut of equity would be, and what would be the parameters of getting that cut of equity. Since then, that obviously has changed. We've now completely formalized our agreement. Okay. But I sent him, you know, I wrote that up in Word really quickly. I have it somewhere. Sent it via DocuSign. He signed it, and that was it. We were off to the races. But then a little bit later, you know, we formalized an actual agreement, a contract that we drew up from a professional site that does these sort of things.
So like a professional site, what do you mean? Like a legal site or
exactly where they provide templates for employee agreements. Okay. So that's what we did. And then also, in terms of the cap table, you know, through Gust, you're able to distribute your shares of stock and equity, and be able to set, you know, all right, I'm going to set a 12-month cliff. You'll be vested over 36 months, et cetera, et cetera. So we formalized all of that as well in terms of his share in the company, what the cliff date is, the amount vested over a certain period of time. You know, if there's an acquisition, the triggers that would automatically vest his shares, those sorts of things, we formalized that at a later date through that as well.
So I've heard you say a couple of times you leveraged some stuff from Gust.com, And I was familiar with them because the first couple of pitch competitions, that I participated in, you had to build a profile in Gus,
Yeah.
But I don't remember it having all these resources that you were talking about, because I never even actually looked at all those resources. So that's pretty neat. So but as a founder, do you have to pay to be a member, have an account on Gus, or is this just, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So Gus is, I believe it's $300 for you to get on there and be able to actually basically build your business essentially. So they help you file all your paperwork, incorporate yourself, set your cap table, and it's essentially like your own dashboard. And then from there, they like you said, they do have emails. Like I'll get emails every now and then that says like, hey, there's area, or hey, there's this pitch competition in your area, etc. Where they definitely help you. And there's different levels too. So I think there's a $300 level, which is really just your entry level for just like your startup, getting it off the ground. And then there's like $1,000 level where if you're setting sort of like stock options and like if you want to start up lawyer, etc. But if you're just a startup, just kind of starting out, I haven't even paid the $1,000 for some of the extra stuff. I only paid the $300, and that just basically gets you in the door and helps you, file everything that you need filed and whatnot.
Yeah, so it appears that they, I think I've only used this. It's grown a lot, since like 2015. It looks like. That's neat. They kind of grew up and added all these features, but as a having an account in there, we would apply for the pitch day, and then you had to build your profile on there. So we didn't have to pay anything. But I guess these are just different things they may have added since way back then. Yeah, but that's pretty neat. So that's a good resource. And there's a couple of questions here. So Dr. Winborn says, Brandon, have you seen a profit even though your business is so young?
I haven't, because we haven't launched yet. So once we launch in July, then hopefully we'll see some ROI. But until that happens, no, I have not yet.
Yeah, and see, that's what's interesting about your story. You engage in a lot of things that most people wouldn't even think about engaging in without having money. And see, I would be willing to bet that the average founder listening to us out there, they would even think they could, get somebody, because in essence, you're not paying your CTO anything. And
everybody,
developers and everything.
Yeah. Everybody on my team is working for equity. So, my co-founder obviously owns, a percentage of the company, myself, obviously, and then my two engineers also have equity in the company. Everybody's working for equity right now.
Yeah. So I'm guessing Gus has some recommendations on how you split up equity.
There are. I mean, my philosophy on that, when I had that conversation with my co-founder, I think that's a very tricky conversation for a lot of founders, and that was one that I struggled with, because the original agreement was a lot less. But what a lot of founders need to understand is that when you're going out and you're looking for a co-founder or people on your team and you're offering them equity, as you grow and as you raise rounds of funding, that equity dilutes. And what you don't want to happen is that equity dilutes so much that the folks that you brought on for equity working for nothing in comparison to what the company's worth later on down the road. Like, obviously that's a long time down the road, but when I first had that conversation with my co-founder, I didn't understand that. So he has since gained almost 15 points in equity since our initial conversation, because I never wanted him to feel as if he's not working for like a substantial ownership piece of the company.
Yes.
Even if I had to give him that, I think that's very, very important for a lot of founders to understand, is when you're having that conversation, you certainly want to look at, what is the amount of work, I guess, that you're doing on your end. Like, just because you came up with the idea doesn't mean that, you get 80% and they get 20%, right? I think it's really important to really kind of keep that in the back of your head. Like, these are folks that you're starting out with that you want to have in the long run. And you definitely want to treat them as such and be able to give them their fair share, especially as you raise capital.
Yeah. And Jonathan I'll just read what he says. Seriously, though, what does your presentation look like to get these engineers to sign on and work with us? I think you covered some of that already, but if you want to,
I think, no, I'll love to answer that. So, I mean, there really was no presentation. I think it's really, 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 I can't harp on this. Number one, to yourself, and number two, to be honest. Be extremely honest. Don't sugarcoat anything. Don't tell anything it's not like how it's not. And I think another big thing is, for me, I've told my team this, like, I've worked we've all worked for companies before, right? We've all worked for employers where, like, man, like, I wish they would treat us better, or I wish I had this better and that better. And I promised myself, if I ever had an opportunity to own my own company and have employees, I would treat every single employee exactly how I would want to be treated. And I think the thing that resonates with everybody on my team, and when I've had those conversations, their well-being, like I said before, my conversations with them is to find out who they are as a person first, not what they can do professionally. And I think a lot of people really appreciate that, that there's a person and not an employee, right? Like, we're a team. Like, this is a team environment. Like, we're collaborative. Like, I'm not better than you and you're not better than anybody else on this team. We all have to row in the same direction. And I think that's what attracted the people to my team that I have now. And even the people that I interviewed that we just unfortunately passed on, because they didn't fit what we wanted to build from a culture standpoint. But in terms of presentation, there's no presentation. I think it's really being honest, authentic, and treat others essentially how you want to be treated, I think is really, really important.
Yeah. So I think you definitely created some playbook points there. So you're planning on moving here to Pensacola from Orlando. That's a pretty gutsy move.
Yeah, to say the least. I have a girlfriend and 1-year-old. We have a house here in Orlando. I'm going to move up there. And the biggest reason for that is, I think, the culture and like folks like yourself, you and I have had this conversation a few times, but I think everything that's being built in the Panhandle and just kind of the Gulf Coast in general, in terms of tech, I want to be a big part of that. And I think we have an opportunity to do some great things, not just from a tech side of things, but also from a community and economic standpoint. I think Pensacola is a growing and emerging market. And, I definitely, coming into kind of, starting my own company and whatnot, I'm hoping that I can be a resource and kind of, I don't want to be pretentious, but a blueprint, if you will, on how to start a company and at least hopefully get it off the ground and be successful. And I think the resources and everything that, like I mentioned before, like yourself and, obviously SCI and folks like Karen and whatnot, and all of the effort that people are building around tech in Pensacola is really attractive. And, I know what's in the tech scene here in Orlando and in Miami and New York and San Francisco. It's like, why can't we do the same thing in Pensacola and in the Panhandle? So I would definitely want to be a part of that. So that's what we're going to do.
Okay, that's fantastic. So what about the rest of the team?
Yeah, so my co-founder, obviously I have one that's international, or I have one team member that's international. My co-founder is in New York. He put in his 2 weeks at his day job, or he will put in his 2 weeks tomorrow. And then I plan on putting my 2 weeks at the end of the month. And then we're gonna make the move to Pensacola. We're in the middle of raising our pre-seed round. But one of my favorite NFL coaches is Bruce Arians of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he has this saying, no risk it, no biscuit. So we're gonna go ahead and throw deep, and we're gonna see what happens. I think that we need to definitely put ourselves out there and say, like, hey, we're serious about this. We're ready to rock and roll, and I think we put ourselves in a really great position to be successful and make that move. And especially talking to investors and things like that, that's the mindset that we have right now. Is we're going to go ahead and get this thing rolling.
That's fantastic. And so I think one of the because a lot of startups, including myself, a lot of times you'll put people on your thing as team members and with but not those stronger relationship agreements. But the deal is you have to have a team in order to build something, and so that team has to have some synergy, in order for you to kind of move forward. And so but what's neat about a team is if you can work good together with the team, it doesn't matter what you're building. You can, as long as you work together, you can, and the process of solving a problem,
for sure. And I think one thing that's been important for us is even once we got the team together, every Tuesday and Thursday, we have our I guess you want to call it all hands or dev meeting, where we talk about what we're working on. So what I'm working on from the marketing investor side, on my end, what Brian, my CTO, is working on, what Ashton's working on from, the back end side, what Adun's working on from the front end development side. And we all collaborate on every Tuesday and Thursday. And then every Saturday, we all get together at 9 a.m. On Saturday morning, and we all have kind of like a recap call of the entire week. So 3 times out of the week, we make sure that we all meet with each other, check in on each other. I always ask them, is there anybody that needs anything personally, anything from me professionally, whatever. We have those conversations, and we try to be as open and candid and really create that team. And that goes back to what I said before in creating that culture and that team environment, and just making sure we're rowing on the same direction at the end of the day.
Okay. All right. Well, fantastic. Last call for questions. We're about out of time here. And I think people appreciate you sharing your story, Brandon. And I think a lot of people will learn a lot from it. And because there's so many unknowns, when you're on your founder's journey. And I'm telling you, I'm telling the audience that relationship, capital networking with people, because as you grow, you're going to want to know the answer to something, and without those relationships, you're going to struggle.
Absolutely. And I think that's really been the biggest thing for us, creating relationships, like I said, with folks like yourself and folks in the in the Gulf Coast area, and really not leaving any stone unturned. Pick up the phone or send a LinkedIn message or send a text and, invite that one person to coffee. And I think Karen said it best when she was on stage earlier. It takes that one connection to change everything. And with some of the connections that I've made, we now have, some really awesome angel investors that are interested. We have a few VCs that are interested just because we took the time to connect with certain people.
Yes.
So I think that's absolutely true. And on that note as well, if anybody at all, that's listening to this, feel free to reach out to me. Jonathan probably knows this better than anybody, but feel free to text me, call me, email me, send a carrier pigeon if it can make it to Orlando, whatever you need to do to get a hold of me.
Okay.
Always happy to jump on the phone with anybody that has any questions or just like wants to talk. Always happy to have those conversations.
I did have one more question. What was your experience like in the G-Beta program that you all just completed?
I thought it was wonderful. I mean, coming into it, I had an idea and kind of a direction of where we were going and where we wanted to go. But for me personally, going back to the networking thing, I didn't have a network. You know, that was my biggest thing, is like, I don't have a network. I don't know how to talk to investors. I don't know, you know, what are some things that I need to focus on as a business. And, you know, Douglas McClure, who was over at Deshi, he's the CEO over at Deshi. You know, he said it best when we were at a baseball game when I was up there. Is he was like, you know, G Beta, they really take what you really need to focus on. They make you a sniper. They make you really focus on the things that you need to focus on to be successful. And that really stuck with me, because I think that is exactly how I would picture it, is the things that you definitely need to focus on. They help you focus on, because as an entrepreneur and as a founder, your mind's going everywhere at all different times, right? What they do is they help you really focus on the key things that are important. So when you leave, you can really build on those foundations and build on the network that you get from G Beta. But I think the most valuable thing for us was really the network, which is why we're moving to Pensacola.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think there is a G Alpha program that's open out there for you know, people who have ideas about doing a startup. So that's out there. The link is in the newsletter that we sent out. And Jonathan, if you don't mind, you can put that in the link as well if you have it handy. If not, don't worry about it. But it's in our newsletter that we sent out. And so that's a really good move for everybody. And yeah, we're excited to, you know, partner with Generator and Jonathan. He's definitely helped us out here at Startup on the Blocks quite a bit. So, all righty, well, we got to go ahead and sign off here, and we feel free to reach out anytime, Brandon. You know, we'll do whatever we can to help you up here in Pensacola. And
I appreciate that.
All righty, you take care, and we'll see y'all next week, everyone. All righty. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Thanks for the time.
All right.
I guess.